Good morning, everyone, and welcome to April 30th General Committee meeting. I can confirm we do have quorum. Our Deputy Mayor is sending her regrets, and so is Councillor Stone and Schumacher, actually. So I'll get Monty Cloutier to read the land acknowledgement statement.
I would like to respectfully acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabeg under the terms of the Robinson Treaty number 61 of 1850 and the Williams Treaty of 1923. We commit to acknowledge, learn, educate, create opportunity, honor sacred places, and take actions toward real truth and reconciliation and support of our commitment to walking the path together in respect, peace, harmony for future generations.
Midwich, thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest today? And not seeing any, we're going to move right on to deputations and, oh.
We're amending the agenda.
Okay. We're going to amend the agenda. I have a move by Councillor Cloutier, second by Councillor Clark. It's recommended that the General Committee meeting agenda dated Wednesday, April 30th, 2025 be adopted as printed and circulated with the removal of item 4.2, Jeff Sotheby and Kelly Haywood, Huntsville's Municipal Accommodation Tax Association, HMATA, Re-Explore Huntsville HMATA Annual Update. Perfect. And now we'll move on to 4.1. We have John Gowan here from Coaches Association of Ontario. He's going to come down for the National Coaches Week, September 15th to the 21st, 2025, flag raising. Welcome, John.
Your worship and councillors. There we go. Thank you, your worship and councillors. Just in time there, Scott. On behalf of the Coaches Association of Ontario, we would like to thank you for reviewing our Town of Huntsville flag raising request. On behalf of September 15th to the 21st, 2025 marks the 11th annual National Coaches Week in Canada, wherein Canadians join together to celebrate the tremendous positive impact coaches have on athletes and communities. Over the past decade, the campaign has achieved over 50 million annual impressions utilizing the hashtag #ThanksCoach on social media. And this year, we're looking to continue to build further awareness and engagement with your support. Throughout the week, communities across Ontario will be showing their support for coaches through community events, training workshops, and lightings, including the CN Tower, the Toronto Sign, Niagara Falls, and Welland Bridge. The National Coaches Week flag raising will showcase the town of Huntsville's support for coaches not only in Huntsville, but across Ontario and Canada. The flag features the National Coaches Week logo, which will be shared by all sports organizations, clubs, teams, and individuals throughout this week, all across Canada. Thank you again for your continued support of the amazing volunteers who are committed to providing sports opportunities to our community. Thank you.
Thanks for that, John. Appreciate it. Do we have any questions? Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Deputy Chair Armour. And really just a comment, but I love the hashtag #ThanksCoach, and I just think that this is such a great way to celebrate coaches. I had, swimming coaches, basketball coaches, soccer coaches, so it's really, I'm glad you're here today, and I'm sure there'll be a positive outcome.
Thank you.
Councillor Cloutier.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. Really good. I've coached a lot in different sports and throughout the years and everything, and had a lot of good coaches myself, and I've had a few that have certainly helped me through times. And I think nowadays, with sports or anything, not just sports, but any coaches help our children now, especially with the mental health that's going on in our communities with the younger children. The kids nowadays are not the same as when I grew up, but coaches are definitely, I think, a big factor in their lives nowadays. So
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Morrison.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour, and through you, John. This is amazing. I think to echo what Councillor Cloutier said, sometimes coaches are the reason that kids get out of bed and go do things instead of being on their iPads and doing everything else. And,
Yep.
and I know you being a coach, I mean, your goal at the end of the year is that they just want to do it again next year, right? But,
Exactly.
but I want to like add on to this, and I'm sure maybe this is part of it or not, but it's the coaches as well as the people that volunteer to organize these groups. Like without them, the groups wouldn't run. I know you put a lot of time into Nordic skiing and other things. But I want to give a shout out to those people that are part of the boards and do everything else that actually keep it going. And it's their jobs to actually try to convince people to become coaches.
That's correct.
And there's not enough coaches out there. So to pay attention to the coaches that do coach and maybe encourage more to do it, I think this is amazing. Thank you
Great.
for bringing it.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks, John.
Okay.
As you see, it's going to be addressed further in our
Yeah.
agenda here today. So you're more than welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the meeting, or or we
And
can have
or
one of the
enjoy the
clerks
sunshine.
reach out to you,
Yeah,
let them
okay.
know they'll come.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The report before you is basically an overview of the planning department's activities during 2024. I don't have a presentation, but there are some stats in the report about the applications we received. 261 planning applications in 2024. There's also some stats in there about the applications that were before Planning Council, the applications that staff considered and used our delegated approval authorities to proceed or advance, and some information about appeals to the Ontario Land Tribunal in 2024. So there's also a graph in the back of the report with some of that information in a visual format. So I think I'm here to answer any questions you might have about the information in this report.
Thanks for that. Do we have any questions? Councillor Renwick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. And through you to Richard, just a question about the new housing and the densities. That's a report that is coming back to council. When do you think that might come back? The increased densities that we're looking at.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, are you talking about the height and density increase? Okay. So that report we hope to be coming back for actually a public meeting in July to implement recommendations from that report. We'll have to suggest some changes to the community planning permit bylaw and maybe even the official plan. So we'll be coming back with that hopefully in July. Yeah.
Thanks for that. I have a quick one. How's 25 faring out compared to 24 at this time? I know it's early in the year, but
That is a really good question. I should have anticipated that and provided some year-to-date stats. I don't have it with me, but I can report back if it helps.
sure, that'd be great. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. I don't see any other questions. Thanks very much. So we're going to move on to 5.1.2, and Director Maxwell's coming up. It's report number DEV 2025-47, heritage designation at 254 Old Muskoka Road, the McGill Church, actually. And I do have a motion. It's moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Renwick. It's recommended that council approve the recommendation of the Huntsville Area Historical Society to designate 254 Old Muskoka Road in accordance with Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, RSO 1990. I guess that's an O-18. And further that, staff be authorized to serve the notice of intention to designate in accordance with the requirements under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, RSO 1990 CO 18 to the Ontario Heritage Trust the property owner and notice on our website as per the provision of the notice policy. And further that, if no objection is served on the clerk within 30 days of the date of publication of the notice of intent, council shall pass a bylaw designating 254 Old Muskoka Road being part of Lot 33, Concession 13, Stevenson, Part 3 on Plan 35R-23361, and a copy of the bylaw shall be served on the owner and the Ontario Heritage Trust. Director Maxwell.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour. I have Ms. McKay from the Medill Church Preservation Society is here as well. The report's pretty straightforward. The Historical Society had reviewed the property and determined that we should look at trying to designate it. It does have a plaque through the Ontario Heritage Trust, and it is on our Register of Properties of Interest, but it has not yet been designated, which is why we're here today. And the reasons for the designation are that the Pioneer Church was built in 1872 on land donated by John Medill, hence the name, who was one of the area's original settlers. And each family in the congregation donated logs for the construction of the building. The cemetery on the adjacent grounds contains the graves of many Muskoka pioneers, including George Hunt, who was the founder of Huntsville. And the church itself is an interesting structure because it has architectural value, because it's an original square timber log church, and there's not many of those left in Ontario. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any questions? Councilor Cluchet.
Is it just the church or the graveyard too?
The graveyard is in the town's ownership, and the town maintains it. So the church is on a separate parcel, and it would just be the parcel of land that contains the church.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Armour, and Kirsten, thanks for the report. I think this is a good thing to have happen. I'm sure that everyone who's been involved with restoring and repairing the church is pleased that this is happening. So, good stuff.
Other questions? I have a question. Do you see the church being used, even though heritage status, for weddings and stuff like that? Is it still able to do that?
I believe that that was the intent of the restoration, so that it could be used more fully on the interior as well as on the grounds.
Yeah. No, it's looking great. I've been out by it. It looks perfect. So, if any other questions? I'm going to call the motion as read. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. And now I believe I turn the chair over to Councillor Morrison. Carry on with corporate services.
Thank you, Chair Armour. We are going to start off with, I'm just going to make sure I'm at the right one, because there are so many today, again. We are starting off with 5.2.1, and Tracy Miller is here to give a report on Corp number 2025-26, the amendment to flag protocol policy, community flag raising request, Coaches Association of Ontario, and I do have a motion moved by Councillor Cluche, seconded by Councillor Clark. It is recommended that committee approve the request to amend Appendix 2 of the Town of Huntsville Flag Protocol Policy to include the addition of Coaches Association of Ontario, organizations of the community flag raising list of pre-approval organizations. And I guess that's not Appendix 2, is Appendix II? II, yeah, okay. And there you go. Thank you, Tracy.
Good morning through you, Chair. Today I'm bringing forward a report to recommend Coaches Association of Ontario be added to the pre-approval list under our current flag raising policy. In reviewing the applications submitted, it was determined by staff that this organization does fall within the criteria outlined in the policy. As Mr. Cowan stated earlier, in his deputation, this organization is a not-for-profit that supports and advocates for coaches on many levels. They have celebrated National Coaches Week for over 10 years, recognizing the positive impact that coaches have on their contributions to their communities. I feel that Mr. Cowan has provided a clear description of his request, but if anybody has any questions, I'm here to help.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have a mic on. There are no questions, so I'll just gonna have a quick comment. For the Rare Disease Day, we did light up the town hall, so I don't know if that's something we could consider for stuff like this. It would have to go into a policy, I'm sure, but. Okay, it's on there. All right, so that's my comment for the next one as well. Save that one. Any other questions on this one? Okay, and with that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. And Councilor Cloutier, I thought you were joking last night about the jerseys, or I would have worn mine. We did our thing. Never, 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 never. Is Richard here? Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one, and we are looking at 5.2.2. And Tracy's also going to report on Corp 2025-27, the flag protocol policy repeal and replace. And I do have a motion that is moved by Deputy Mayor Armour, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. It is recommended that committee approve the amendments to the flag protocol policy attached as Schedule A, as outlined in Report Corp 2025-27, and further that the flag protocol policy be renamed the flag protocol and clock tower lighting policy, and further that all previous versions of the flag protocol policy be rescinded. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. This report is with respect to the updating of the updating and renaming of the flag protocol policy. The policy language has been streamlined for clarity and to align with current practices. Key changes, they include requiring direction from council regarding the placement and or replacement of flags from countries or territories outside of Canada in municipal facilities, as this is a direction from council. Also, as per a motion in February of this year, the policy was updated and renamed, including clock tower lighting's requests. While reviewing this policy, it was identified occasionally the flagpole at the Canada Summit Centre has been used, yet it is not established in the policy, so we wanted to address that. Finally, a process was set out for removing organizations from the pre-approval list who have not utilized the community flagpoles in a consecutive 3-year period. Is there any questions?
Don't worry.
Thank you.
I've confused everybody. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Chair Morrison, and through you to Tracy. Thank you for the report. So we have the flag pole with the flag that's here on Town Hall. We have the flag that's over at the Summit Centre. We also have a flag that's down at Rivermill Park, that beautiful big one that's in the pergola area. That's not part of this policy, is it? That you know of?
Through you, Chair. No, it has not been identified as a pole that we could use. It was through discussion, it was not one that was brought up. However, you know, if staff or CAO or anyone could assist with this, answering that one, whether or not it could be used. It could also be.
Does Jessica want to speak on that? Okay, CEO Corey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So currently that flag is not recognized in the flag policy. I don't believe there's a reason that it's not, unless Director Collier can add something to it. But if committee is interested, oh, she's not here. I didn't look to my left. Director Collier is not here. So if it's something that committee is interested in, we absolutely could look into it and report back and do a further amendment if necessary.
Follow up, yeah.
Yes, please. I think that would be great if it's such a visual flag, and it's a large one, and it seems to be more of a flagpole than the one that we have here at the Town Hall. So that would be great if we could look into it. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I tend to agree it's worth looking into for sure because of its prominent place for sure. Any other comments or questions on this one? I just want to point out at the agenda review the other day, we did discuss this one, and just to be clear, it has nothing to do with the G7 flag park. And the one thing that comes out of this with the town flag and also the Summit Center flag, there could be groups that request a certain location. Some might prefer the Summit Center if it's something that's associated with that. So it's really a good report, and it does clean up a few things, and I think we're going in the right direction. Any other comments? I think we're good. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you so much, Tracy, for all your work on those. Okay, with that, we are going to have Marie Turner come down for 5.2.3 regarding report number Corp 2025-28, permanent highway closure policy repeal and replace. And I also have a motion on this one moved by Councillor Cloutier, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. It is recommended that committee approve permanent highway policy amendments attached to Schedule A to Report Corp 2025-28, and further that permanent highway closure policy adopted by Resolution GC 61-23 be rescinded. I'll pass it over to Marie.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Morrison. So this report includes recommended updates to the permanent highway closure policy, which governs the closure of shore road and road allowances. The policy language has been streamlined for clarity and conciseness. Key changes include the addition of a definition section and several general amendments. The main amendments are as follows. Allowing partial closures of shore roads for properties with more than 1,000 feet of continuous frontage, provided it is not a condition of a consent application, and introducing additional criteria for purchasing a road allowance, such as the closure being subject to a planning application or the presence of an encroachment that cannot be easily removed. Exceptions to these provisions may be considered by committee for specific situations. Road allowance closures are becoming more contentious. The main item staff are considering when closing a road allowance is current or future municipal use. In the past, the thought was, are we going to build a road here? However, future municipal use of road allowances are changing to possible future trail or just remain as green space. So the criteria was updated in the policy. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much. Any comments or questions on this policy, this report? So easy today, it's great. With that, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Okay, and that carries. Okay, and everybody gets 2 each today, it seems. So we're going to keep Marie up here for report number Corp 2025-29, License of Occupation Policy Repeal and Replace. And I also have a motion for that one, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Deputy Mayor Armour. It is recommended that committee approve License of Occupation Policy amendments attached as Schedule A to Report Corp 2025-29, and further that Resolution 101-21 be rescinded. Pass it over.
Thank you again, and through you, Chair Morrison. So this report again includes recommended updates to the license of occupation policy. The policy language has been streamlined for clarity and conciseness. The most notable change is the addition of Section 9, which addresses encroachments in the business improvement area. Given the numerous encroachments in the BIA and the challenge of determining the extent of the encroachment without a legal survey, businesses in the BIA are exempt from entering into a license of occupation or occupation agreement or paying any annual fees. However, they must maintain their encroachments at no cost to the town, and any new encroachments in the BIA that require a CPP or a building permit shall not be permitted without approval from committee or council. So happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions on this one? Okay, Deputy Mayor Armour.
Couldn't let you get away with no questions. Very quick, does this affect any of the current license of occupations that we have out in place right now?
No.
That's a good question. I was wondering the same thing. That's great. Anything else? Okay, with that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. And Marie, thank you. So we must have lunch meetings or something that we're rushing through all this stuff. We are moving on here to Jessica Boys. Are you coming down or keeping your seat? You're right there. Perfect. All right. Jessica is going to give a report for information only regarding Corp 2025-30 summary of delegated matters. Pass it over to Jessica.
Through you, Chair Morrison, this report is just with respect to the delegation of authority bylaw. Our most recent update was at the end of 2023, and this is a summary of all the times that the delegation of authority has been used through the end of 2023 and all of 2024.
Any questions on that very exciting topic? Very good. Okay, so it was information only. We can move on to the next item, and that is Director McKenzie presenting regarding report number Corp 2025-31 Municipal Accommodation Tax Bylaw Update. And I do have a motion on this one, moved by Deputy Mayor Armour, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. It is recommended that committee approve the amendments to the Municipal Accommodation Tax Bylaw 2019-123 as attached to report Corp 2025-31. And further that the amending bylaw be forwarded to Council for approval. Pass over to Director McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair Morrison. I hope I'm allowed more than 2. So there are some minor changes to the map bylaw. This is a result of staff working through and applying the bylaw over the past few years, as it is relatively new, just to make some amendments to make the bylaw clear. So part of it is providing clarification on timing of the report filing once the automatic assessment invoice has been issued. So this is kind of a newer process for us. So we just want to make sure it was well documented. And just how interest and penalties are applied and alternate enforcement penalties for the court system. And we have provided a list of all those changes in the report.
Great, thank you very much. Any comments or questions on this report? Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Chair Morrison, through you to Julia. Julia, I just know that this is going to make your job easier with the little changes that we've made here, close some of the loopholes. So good work.
Awesome. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Anything else? Okay, with that, I will call, Deputy Mayor Armour, yes.
Thanks, Chair Morris. Just a very quick one. How are we making out with our mat taxes? Are we having to put too many amps out there, or are people actually paying up their 4%? Do you know that quite?
That is a good question. I don't have it right in front of me, but we are bringing forward in the very near future the 2024 results, so we can make sure that that's in there.
Okay, great. And I can tell you, I did participate recently in an appeal process from an AMP that was levied, and it was a third-party paralegal that took care of it. It was very well done, and it was a good result in the end. So there's a lot of pieces to the bylaw, and that's just one of them now. So, okay, that was, there was a motion to that, so I think I will call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. And the next 3, Julia, that you get, because you're here for a while, are for information only. We're going to start with report number Corp 2025-33, the 2024 investment report, cemetery trust funds, and I'll pass it over.
Thank you. So just some highlights in the report that there was for the cemetery trust, there was over 75,000 of investment income, which we have now transferred to the cemetery capital reserve. So that'll be used to offset for future capital replacement.
Any comments or questions on this, Deputy Mayor Armour?
I guess another one for your opinion on this one. So with the taking of new cemeteries, I think 3 are on the slate right now to come in. Are we going to have a good enough reserve here to be able to keep those, or is just another dart in the air and just see what happens and where it hits?
I'm just trying to remember. I was just trying to look at our cemetery balance. We do have, it is in a deficit position right now, that balance. And we do have the columbarium that we just paid for. So it definitely needs to be, that one definitely needs to be increased going forward, just for the ones that we already had, let alone the ones that we're adding. And I think it's really important to note too that we've had a couple of really good years with interest income because of the high interest rates, which has helped offset, or could be used to offset operational costs. But I think those will start to dwindle down a little bit.
Great question. That's good to be aware of. And Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Chair Morrison, and thank you for the report, Julia. I guess the thing is too that municipalities are, cemeteries are downloaded onto the municipalities, and no matter what, we're always responsible for them. But I think there was a discussion perhaps that maybe at AMO we'll be talking about the fact that it's something that we'd have to take these on. There's no recourse for us. It's something that just municipalities have always been asked to do. And we don't get any kind of money from the province or from the federal government to do this, do we? No. Okay. It's a comment.
Yeah, that's good to point out, absolutely. Any other comments, Deputy Mayor Armour? Yes.
Thank you. Just to follow up with that, Councillor Renwick, we met last year with a delegation with Bracebridge about the very subject, and we're going to plan on meeting with it again this year at AMO to see if we can get some movement, because I think we're close to 50 graveyards now that or cemeteries that we're responsible for. So.
Okay. Great, and thanks for your advocacy at AMO. That's great. Director McKenzie?
I was just going to note that I don't believe that we've had any money come in from any cemeteries since we took on Ilfracombe, which was several years ago. So we don't normally get any funds from any of the cemeteries.
That tends to be the mode, download and not support. So that's good. Any other comments or questions from table? Okay, that was information only, so we'll move on to the next information only report. Make sure we're at the right one. We are at 5.2.8 is report number Corp 2025-34, 2024 investment report, prudent investments. And Director McKenzie.
Thank you. These are fun reports because I get to report positive earnings here. This just shows the results of the 2024 investment incomes for the one prudent investment portfolio. So we did have investment income of almost 400,000 with some reinvested capital gains. We did have a distribution policy or plan that's been in place for several years, and that is how we applied these funds for 24. So just a quick summary: for development charges, we allocated 52,000. For Parkland, 15. Local share hospital, we allocated 168,000, and capital reserves 153.
Great. Thanks for that report. And obviously some good news. Any questions or comments from the table? Okay, so let's move on to your next report, which is 5.2.9. It's report number Corp 2025-35, the 2024 annual investment report legal list.
Thank you. So again, this is just, this is reporting on our money not required immediately. So this is a new term that we've had to use since we've moved over to prudent. So this is funds that aren't in the prudent fund. And so in 2024, you will see there is a significant budget variance, a positive budget variance for interest income. We earned about $1.1 million, which was a variance of about almost $600,000 for 2024.
That's great. We love positive budget variances. They're rare, so that's great. Any comments or questions on that report? Okay, we are moving right along. Now on to 5.2.10 is report number Corp 2025-36, prudent investment income allocation updates. And I do have a motion on this one. And it is moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. It is recommended that committee approve transfers to reserves for investment income based on the investment distribution plan as outlined in report Corp 2025-36, and further that recommendation GC 59-21 be rescinded. Director McKenzie.
Thank you. So as you'll remember from the earlier report, the 2024 income was allocated based on that distribution plan that was approved several years ago. Since this time, we've had a lot more experience with administering these allocations and the investment income, and we want to take this opportunity to look at the program and make some suggestions for improvements moving forward. So each of these types of funds, like development charges, Parkland and Lieu, have several types of investment that makes up these funds. So it has been a challenge to kind of rebalance these continually to make sure the allocations are making sense. So what we're recommending at this time is making a change to allocate all the investment income to the local share and capital reserves only. So first of all, the local share first allocate based on the reserve balance of that fund. And this helps get us to the $10 million target. And then with capital reserves, allocate the remainder of the investment income on the same proportionate share as the capital contributions. And this provides ongoing support for funding for capital reserves to support the existing town infrastructure. And the other reason is capital reserves aren't tied to legislation or agreement, so this allows a little bit more flexibility with those funds if we do allocate it over to development charges or to Parkland, then it is part of that. So it doesn't mean that those funds won't be earning any investment income. We still have those segregated for GICs, that sort of thing, and bank accounts for those funds. So those funds still will be earning investment income, but it's just to simplify kind of how we've got things moving forward.
Thank you for that update. Any comments or questions on this report? Okay, with that, I am going to call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. All right. Well, we're moving right along today. Those of you that said you might not be home till 1 or 2, I think we're going to do better than that. We are moving on to Lauren McDermott, and she's going to come down and give a report on Corp 2025-37, Muskoka Futures Doctor Recruitment Partnership.
All right, thank you through you, Chair Morrison. So for the Doctor Recruitment Partnership, this report outlines the town's partnership with Muskoka Futures for a physician recruitment incentivized loan program. Through conversations with Muskoka Futures, it was noted that a partnership did not require financial contribution from the town in order for FedNor to approve lower rate loans for physicians. So as part of this partnership, Muskoka Futures can offer prime rate loans to local physicians with medical corporations, and town staff will include promotional material from Muskoka Futures within the physician incentive package and share with the Algonquin Family Health Care team for distribution to existing physicians in the area. So I'm here for any questions.
Okay, any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Armour?
Thanks, Chair Morrison. Good news story. Thank goodness. When you say small loans, what is the cap on that loan? 10,000, 20,000?
I will defer to Director Frame.
Thank you. So through you, Chair Morrison. So with respect to the actual funding amounts, the loan amounts that Muskoka Futures can provide, that's kind of a Muskoka Futures decision. And it might vary depending on the physician and what they need it for. So I think to be clear too with this partnership, so these loans that Muskoka Futures can offer to the physicians, they need to be physicians with medical professional corporations because Muskoka Futures can't lend to individuals, so only to corporations. So the idea is that we're sort of helping to support Muskoka Futures and their services that they provide to the physicians without financially needing to contribute right now.
And I can just follow up to that a little bit on the number. When I first met with David Brushy about this initiative, he mentioned that the loans could be as high as $200,000 or $300,000, which is exciting for us because that would fit into people that want to expand a clinic or open a clinic. And it's a win-win. Muskoka Futures, as you know, is very successful, but they currently have a lot of money in the bank. So that money that's sitting in the bank is not making them money. And they know that doctors are pretty reliable partners. So it could be a good thing. And it's also something that Muskoka Futures would love to expand to the entire district, not just Huntsville. There hasn't been any uptick by other municipalities, but it is offered to them as well. Any other comments or questions on this one? Councillor Fitzgerald and then Councillor Renwick.
Thanks, Chair Morrison. Yeah, when Director Brushy was here, the report is it says 10-year loans at favorable interest rates. So I think it's a great program, and hopefully there's some uptake and we fill those remaining spots.
Yes, there could be updates on that coming soon. Councillor Renwick?
Thank you, Chair Morrison. And this, I guess, would be through Lauren, but also to Director Frame. So Director Frame, are most doctors, do they have, they're incorporated, or the majority of them are, I'm assuming, because we can't loan to individuals?
So through you, Chair Morrison. So I mean, in my previous experience in dealing with corporations and that kind of thing, I think a lot of medical professionals do have medical professional corporations, but not everyone does.
Very good. Any other comments or questions on that? Okay. Over to Lauren. Yeah.
Through you, Chair Morrison, just one more thing to just emphasize is that we decided to offer this program to all current existing physicians as well, just as a retention initiative as well. So it's a great thing to discuss.
Yeah, that's a great thing to add. So any current doctor who wants to expand their business is welcome. Now that was for information only. So if there are no other comments, we'll move on to the next one. We have report number Corp-2025-38, the Huntsville Community Fund update. And I do have a long motion on this one. And it is moved by Councillor Cloutier, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Whereas Resolution GC 102-24 approved the creation of a Huntsville Community Fund, HCF, to be operated by the Muskoka Community Foundation, MCF, and that the HCF be used to collect donor dollars to support council-approved projects, programs, or initiatives. And whereas funds collected through the HCF are eligible for charitable donation receipts and cannot be refunded to donors, so approved projects, programs, and/or initiatives must have the support of council. Now, therefore, it is recommended that the HCF be authorized to collect community donations to support the following ongoing projects, programs, and initiatives that do not have defined timelines and/or minimum fundraising amounts. And it's number one, healthcare professional attraction and retention for the purpose of supporting attraction and retention of healthcare professionals in our community. And further that the HCF be authorized to collect community donations to support the following projects, programs, and initiatives that must be fully funded through the community donations in order to be implemented. And that's number one, Unity Circle for the purpose of supporting the initial installation and ongoing maintenance of the Unity Circle project. That'll pass it over to Lauren McDermott.
So through you, Chair Morrison. So at the time of this report, staff have developed a Huntsville Community Fund agreement with the Muskoka Community Foundation, which is MCF, to the satisfaction of the Director of Corporate and Community Strategy. So based on existing council direction and strategic plan, 2 projects and initiatives are recommended to be set up under the HCF. One being the Healthcare Professional Attraction and Retention, which is intended to raise community funds to support attraction and retention of the healthcare professionals in our community. And this funding stream would not have a set funding target and would not require a minimum amount collected to be utilized. Then the second one would be Unity Circle, and this is intended to raise community funds for the initial installation and ongoing maintenance of this council directive as per Resolution 3425. And since this project must be fully funded through community contributions, a funding target will be set and installation would not occur until the target is met. So distribution from the fund can only be issued to Canadian registered charities and other qualified donees as defined by the Canadian Revenue Agency. So based on the HCF agreement, distribution will generally only be made directly to the town as a qualified donee, and disbursements will be made by the foundation based on recommendations from the town. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on this? Deputy Mayor Armour?
Thanks, Chair Morrison. So just to be clear, so someone comes to the front desk and says they'd like to donate $20. So would you offer these funds to them, or would they direct their money to the fund that they want it to go to?
Okay, so through you, Chair Morrison. So good question. So the idea with the Huntsville Community Fund is that they're going to promote these different streams of funding, and it's I believe they use Canada Helps. It's like an online platform. You can donate online. That being said, and maybe I might have to defer to Director Mackenzie on this one, if somebody comes to the counter and wishes to donate, we do accept donations, but internally we wouldn't necessarily have these specific streams set aside. So we do accept general donations from the public. We do that now. So to donate specifically for the healthcare attraction and retention, say, we would kind of, if you want to donate specifically to that program, we would defer them to the Huntsville Community Fund, and you can pay with a credit card online and all of that great stuff. Part of the agreement that we're currently working on with the Muskoka Community Foundation for this Huntsville Community Fund, it includes a communication plan. So for all of these different funding streams, they will have a communication plan in place for each one of them. So they promote the streams and work with area partners on essentially fundraising for these streams.
And over to Lauren.
Through you, Chair Morrison, just to add to that, as a reminder, once it's donated, it's not something that can be refunded. So we would really encourage that the individuals know where the funds are going and they're aware that once it's donated, it's in there in that pot of money.
Yeah, I think for that reason, it's probably great to what Director Frame was saying. We direct them to the proper spot to do it. There's more checks and balances there as opposed to more staff time being spent. But yeah, that's something I never thought of. So that's a good question, Deputy Mayor Armour. I'm going to pass over to Councillor Rem.
Thank you, Chair Morrison, and thank you, Lauren, for the report. I guess I'd like to just clarify one thing about the motion, and perhaps I'm putting a motion on the table, that I don't know if the ongoing maintenance of the Unity Circle project needs to come out of that fund. I think once the Unity Circle is installed, it would become nothing, any asset that we have an ongoing maintenance fund for all of our projects that we have, or all of our things. I don't think that the money should be coming out of that community fund to do the maintenance, because I don't think there's going to be as much maintenance. And I think when we initially crafted this motion, it was that we thought the Unity Circle would be on the ground and it would be on the road so that we would have ongoing updates. I don't think at this time that there's going to be as much maintenance on something that's erected in a more open area. And so that's just my point. And I don't know if we can discuss that, or do I put a motion on the table to say that we remove that portion of the ongoing maintenance of the Unity Circle project?
I mean, you could certainly amend the motion to take
Yeah.
out those words. And I tend to concur. We made it clear with the road, there would have been almost on an annual basis, and every time somebody might have vandalized with their car or something else, there'd be way more potential. With this one, it might be cleaning, like even just cleaning something off the sign if there was graffiti, or even like the parks maintenance around it. It'll be minimal if anything. And our goal, and it's maybe more for the next motion about the costing of Unity Square, that there is going to be a surplus from the original, like from the initial installation. There will be money left over, and there'll be money left over probably for 10 years of maintenance. But 10 years down the road, when we probably aren't around the table, it'd be really unfortunate to have to come back to council and ask for an amendment at that point. So I would support that, and I think it makes sense. We've set up a situation where there will be little to no cost at all. It just makes it more cumbersome the way it's written. So I guess Deputy Mayor Armour?
I can understand why you want to bring the motion forward, but I think we'd like to see it get up in place and then just sort of let it play out and make sure that there are no costs that come back to the taxpayer at the end of the day, because really that's for staff to maintain it, look after it, is taxpayers' money we're spending. And I think this was set up originally just to have a fund in place that would maintain it, look after it. So that's just my thought. Let's set it up, let's get it there, and let's see how it works out. And then we can always come back here and say we need to change what we're doing. And that way we'll also have the fund available to fix it if we need to, right?
Councillor Remick?
Thank you, Chair Morrison. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know if it will become an asset of the town. And the fact that any assets that we have are looked after by taxpayers' dollars. Why is this asset any different than anything else that we have in the town? So that's my question.
I think I can speak to that. I remember when we did pass it, it was put on there, it was approved based on there being no cost going forward. So I understand where Deputy Mayor Armour's come from. I think we've taken a lot of steps by taking our time with this to make sure it's set up better to be cost efficient for the town. I fully support Councillor Remick's amendment, but I'm okay with where Deputy Mayor Armour is coming from on this. We get it up, and don't worry, Helena and I will not forget. I mean, I think once it's up and it's been there for a bit, we can certainly then come back and make sure that it's addressed then. I think it's maybe the right approach, and we'll make sure that we stay on it.
Yeah, if I may, thank you. I would agree to that. But I think it's something that we should revisit, because I think it becomes something that's an asset. It's like the murals. It's like anything that we have in the town. So why is this differentiated? And I know we did advocate in the beginning that it would be no cost to the taxpayer, but it is something that it shows our inclusiveness. It's something that's so much better for our town. So I will not make the motion at this point, the amendment, but I would like to make a note, and I'll make a note in my book that I'll bring it back. So.
Yeah, set an annual reminder and you and I'll chat, and I think too, the good thing about the way we've pivoted on the design is that it does give opportunity for more community involvement. So it's not simply limited to our original plan, which is great. And I think, speaking out loud, I know that organizations like HMATA and the BIA and the Chamber are very excited about this as what it'll do for the town for inclusiveness in tourism. So there could be a chat down the road if we revisit in a year to have them even help with the fund and on. And yeah, so I think it's a good discussion, and I am supportive of both your comments, and I'm okay going in the direction, which means we don't have to amend the current motion. Okay, any other comments or questions on that? Okay, and that means Jessica can stop typing in amendments because we're good to go. And with that, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, Lauren. You got your two, so you have to move on. There you go. And we're going to move on now to Lord, now did we do, I think we have another motion, Lauren, and I don't know if anyone's going to speak to it or if we just have a discussion. Because the next item, of course, is 5.2.13, amending Resolution 34-25, Unity Circle, previously adopted on February 24th, 25. So okay, so Jessica will speak to this once I read the motion. Okay, great. So this is moved by Councillor Cloutier, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. It is recommended that committee approve the motion to amend Motion 34-25, adopted on February 24, 2025, by striking out, and further that staff be directed to accept donations for the Unity Circle project and any costs associated with the installation be funded through community donations. And further that the ongoing maintenance costs shall be through community funds, and further that any remaining community funds be set aside in a reserve to offset any future maintenance costs. And inserting, and further that donations for the Unity Circle project be directed to the Huntsville Community Fund, and further that any costs associated with the installation and ongoing maintenance be funded through Huntsville Community Fund. I'll hand it over to Jessica to speak to that.
Through you, Chair Morrison. So the previous motion was passed to direct staff to collect funds, and now we're going in a bit of a different direction. So it's really just administrative so that our records are correct as to where the funds are going.
Fairly straightforward, and it makes sense. And just a quick comment on that. I had the pleasure of presenting the Unity Circle / Unity Path to the IDEA group at the district this week, and they deal with everything inclusion, Indigenous, and so on and so forth. And there was a big committee, and they were unbelievably excited for this. And it's something they want to see go through the rest of our district. Like they and myself and Councilor Remick would love to see this in Gravenhurst, Bracebridge, and Lake of Bays, Georgian Bay, and Muskoka Lake. So, but they also mentioned on that call that they would be very happy to donate some funds to it. So I think it's going to spread. I think we're going to generate a lot of money, and through the HCF, we're going to be in good shape. Are there any questions or comments on this housekeeping item? With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, and that carries. Okay, moving on to Keith Duncan presenting 5-2-14 regarding report number HR 2025-2, Council Remuneration Review. And I do have a motion on this one as well. Moved by Deputy Mayor Armour, seconded by Councillor Cloutier. It is recommended that committee direct staff to update the remuneration and compensation for members of council bylaw 2021-68 for the 2026 to 2030 term of council, as outlined in option B of report HR 2025-2. And further that staff be directed to include in the 2027 draft budget the cost of the council remuneration review at the 40th percentile as outlined in option B of report HR 2025-2. With that, I'll pass it over to Mr. Duncan.
Thank you, Chair Morrison. As outlined in the report in front of you, as per the bylaw 2021-68, remuneration and compensation for members of council, staff are to bring forward a report not in the last term of the current council to look at the remuneration and compensation model for the next term of council. So with that being said, as per the approved bylaw, staff reached out to the 11 approved municipal comparators to receive their council remuneration data. Upon receipt of this, it was put into the Appendix A spreadsheet, and at that point, various pay percentiles were developed based upon this external data that was received. So you can see in Appendix A of the report, the data indicates that the majority of municipalities are currently offering some sort of health-related benefits to their members of council. As well, there is an IT allowance that is being provided to council, as well as the majority of municipalities are also providing meeting per diems to their councillors as well. Reviewing the remuneration side of things, so i.e. the base rate of pay, the current pay percentile that members of council fall into are as follows. The mayor position falls into the 65th percentile, the deputy mayor position falls into the 1st percentile, and the council position falls into the 21st percentile. And this is based upon the external market comparators that are approved in the bylaw. So with that being said, the bylaw that was previously passed in 2021 indicated the pay market position for council of being the 35th pay percentile. So with that being said, obviously, 2 of the 3 elected positions are currently falling below the target pay percentile. There are numerous factors behind that. One being the annual increase that are provided to their respective councils from our market comparators. Some of the comparators are providing a larger increase than what is in the town's current bylaw. As well, there are other municipalities, roughly 50% of them that we received market data from, that had already completed their market review for their next term of council. So that brought up their market figures slightly. So with that being said, staff are recommending that we look at the current remuneration amounts for the elected positions of council. And there are various options contained within the report section, along with the associated costing there as well. So with that being said, I'm available to answer questions.
Okay, thank you for all the work you put in on this. Any questions or comments? Councilor Clark.
Well, I guess I'll start this one off. Thanks, Chair Morrison. There aren't many people in Huntsville that are seeing wage increases right now, and I don't think that we should see it here either. We begin to see a bit of a slowing economy here in Huntsville, and I've talked to many businesses and people that are, that are struggling. As I look through the comparatives that you've used, Keith, in the report, I couldn't help but think that, when our community's struggling, council increases should reflect on what those in our community are being given for raises. There's too much focus in the report on, what's going on, what's being paid in other towns. And I know the staff are going to say, well, that's how it's done. That's the process that we use, and that's how it's always been done. But it doesn't have to be. And so the only increase that I would be willing to look at would be an annual cost of living increase for this time, at this time right now, and that's what I would support. I wouldn't support any of the other options listed.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. Councilor Relic.
Thank you, Chair Morrison, and thank you, Keith, for the report. There was lots of really good information in there. The fact that Councillor Clark is first out the gate, I would agree with what you're saying. I do not think that at this time I would be comfortable with giving ourselves or the next council a raise. Given the nature of what's going on in our community at this point, I would also be comfortable with just having a cost of living increase for the next council, and that would be my final choice.
Any other comments or questions? Councilor Cluche.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with both my other councilors. The only other agree the cost of living, but also I'd like to maybe get the medical in there too, an increase in the medical rather than anything else. I could think that kind of helps things a little bit with everybody. There's a lot of people that don't have benefits and stuff like that as far, and I know people in the community don't either, but I think it's something that we have and we can get a little bit in there, but the cost of living, I think, is good enough, I think.
Thank you, Councilor Cluche. I concur about the medical stuff. That's something that I think should be considered. Any other, Deputy Mayor Armour.
Thanks, Chair Morrison. I can definitely understand my fellow councillors in this, but I see us falling further behind. And if we don't try to play a little catch up now, you're talking 6 years from now, how far behind are they going to be? And I hate to see the taxpayer at that time be hit with a huge increase. So I think we need to really think about where we want to be or where we want to set the next council in relationship to the other communities in the area, because we are the biggest town. We have more amenities, et cetera, that we have to deal with. And I know myself personally, currently as a deputy mayor, following the mayor, it's almost a full-time job. So, and I'm sure my fellow councilors around here receiving emails all through the day and night, phone calls and weekends, et cetera, that you have to attend to. So it really is, you put a lot of hours in. And I know it's tough when you want to compensate yourself, because that's the, community interest. If one of us run again, you really, but I know that's not the case here. I just know it's being, fair value for the work you're doing. I don't know if you ever sat down and we actually looked at the numbers that you get paid today and figure your hours out, how much you actually make an hour. You're probably below minimum wage. So I think we really need to look at it. And I'm okay with the 35 percentile right now, but I would never go 40. Just my thoughts on it.
Great comments, for sure. It's the balance that we're trying to find, right? And Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thanks, Chair Morrison, and thanks, Keith. I've been through this process a few times, and it's never an easy one. I guess I agree in principle with what's been said by everyone, including Deputy Mayor Armour's comments. I believe that the demands of the Deputy Mayor are greater than they've ever been, and I think that should be looked at individually. And I know, and the CAO may want to comment on this, but when we had our cyber incident, we seriously had a consideration about looking at IT provided by the town rather than personal laptops and phones, just for the reason of security. So I don't know if that becomes a consideration in remuneration as well, but I don't think I'm prepared to support anything today. I think we need to have some further discussion, and I certainly don't feel right doing it without a full council to make this decision together. So I don't know if you have any comments about that, CAO, or Keith, you do, but just for consideration.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So thank you for the question. With respect to IT, I certainly would have to consult with our manager of IT, but I think the issue is that if council were to have the support of the IT department, then the devices, I would believe, would have to be town-owned devices that would have to be in care and control of our IT department. So that's something we can definitely look into. I can't speak to that without having spoken with our manager of IT, but it's definitely something we could consider. And it is a practice in other municipalities.
Yeah, I think it was really a twofold consideration. I don't think it's about the benefit, it's about the security. So, which maybe isn't a consideration under this review, but certainly should be in some respect.
Yeah, and I think to that regard, it's a really good thing to bring up, because I know that the cyber instance is still under review and we're gathering information still, but if we found out how it happened, where it happened, did it come through somebody getting someone's banking information and going through that to get into their email and then getting into the town's information, which could have been secured by a town-owned laptop or not? That's something to think about. I think I concur with Councillor Fitzgerald, and I want to ask Keith if it's possible just to defer this to the point where everybody could be at the table. Is that something we can do? Okay, I think we should do that. And I honestly, it's Councillor Remick and I were at the agenda review, and we're both in lockstep that we would support a cost of living. And keep in mind, like the 1 year, the cost of living was 6.9%, right? Like if inflation is up, we tend to try to stay in line with that. But with Councillor Fitzgerald, I see how much more work Deputy Mayor Armour does than with almost every file. Like you're constantly at extra meetings, extra commitments. And that was one area that I could definitely support seeing an increase. And maybe when we have the full council meeting, we find a balance, because we have to remember that previous council set a bylaw that we would always be at the 35th percentile. And so what Keith has brought is trying to stay in line with that. It's not going above and beyond anything that was decided before. And I actually think an increase at this table is more warranted than an increase at the district table, based on most of our work is done in our wards. So I think I'd love to see a full discussion when we come back. And maybe if we have any ideas here of anything to give Keith on direction of other things to bring back, that could be good. For instance, I'd like to see maybe a smaller increase, something that helps us, like Deputy Mayor Armour said, not go further behind, but isn't an 11% increase, which I think is hard to stomach right now for our taxpayers. So maybe there's a smaller number, maybe it's phased in over 4 years, like some people have done, as opposed to just one lump sum. So I think if Keith can bring back those kind of options, I think that would be great. And I support that. Any other questions or comments on that? Councillor Clark?
Thanks, Chair Morrison. Just the last comments for me. I totally understand what Deputy Mayor Armour was saying. I mean, I think we all spend more time at these jobs than part-time. I mean, I know my job as the Chaffey Ward Councillor is busy. It's pretty much 7 days a week, and if it's not a full-time job, it's almost a full-time job. But saying that, none of us are here for the money. We do it because we want to improve our communities. But I would totally support a deferral. I agree with Councillor Fitzgerald. I think it's important to get full council's interaction on what they feel. But I will say, I don't think that would change my opinion on my thoughts today of what I've already said.
All right, thank you, Councillor Clark. So Jessica, would we defeat the motion or do an amendment to bring it back, or just do a deferral? A postponement?
Yes, so I'm just drafting a motion to postpone. Is there any additional, so I have, it's recommended that the report be postponed for staff to gather. Would you like to add some additional criteria in there?
Yes, I'll go to Deputy Mayor, but I think for sure bringing an option of phasing in, an option of like just dealing with the Deputy Mayor and leaving everything else at cost of living. I think those kind of things Keith can bring in a more robust format. And I'll go to Deputy Mayor Armour for his thoughts on this.
Thanks, Chair Morrison. Just a quick one under Councillor Cloutier. He mentioned medical in there, so maybe we just get some background on those costs associated with that too.
Yeah, perhaps medical and IT discussions after CAO Corey discussed it with our manager of IT. That can be something that can be included in the report as well. CAO Corey?
Thank you, Chair Morrison. Just wanted to highlight that those are the things that we heard around the table was deferral of the increase, IT support, added health benefits. We just want to make sure we've captured everything. So if there's something we've missed, if it can be noted, and staff will bring it back at the next time we discuss it.
Okay, and I think that might be it. I will say, as an example, a board that I sit on, our ED gets a monthly stipend in lieu of tech and health benefits. So it's something along those lines could be considered. It would make sense to me. Anything else that people would like to be added for the report that's going to come back to full council? Councillor Cloutier?
And that, as Councillor Fitzgerald said, the full council.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's when we have full attendance. Absolutely. Yeah. Jessica, do you need some more time or more clarification? We'll share the motion on the screen for review. Okay, and I'll read it for those that are listening and maybe can't see the screens. So this motion to postpone would be moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Renwick. It is recommended that report HR 2025-2 be postponed until May General Committee for staff to provide additional options, including health benefits and IT support. Does that sound good? Is there anything needed to be added to that?
I didn't add in for full council attendance. I'm not aware of any absences for May at this time. If we need to postpone it another time, we can do that in May.
Yeah, when the agenda review comes out for the next general committee, that can be decided then if we're going to have enough people. Yeah, that's fair. I think it's good, and Keith's right here. He's heard what we would like addressed, and he's already put a ton of work into this already, so I thank him for that. With that, I will call the question on the motion to postpone. All those in favor? And that carries. I guess I'll sign that later. That gets me off the hook after a lot of motions. Thank you to all of our staff that brought all those. And I think now I'm going to pass it over to Deputy Mayor Armour to reassume the chair.
Thanks, Chair Morrison. I see Richard's back. A question I had earlier about status of permits to date this year compared to last year, so he's got some information for us.
Thank you, and that was a great question. So through you, Mr. Chair, and I should have had the answers ready. But I did crunch some numbers, and year to date, so 2025 year to date, we have 89 applications received by the planning department. So when I project that for the year, that's about 215 for 2025. And when I compare that to 2024, it's 46 less than 2024, so closer to the 2023 planning application numbers.
Thanks for that. That's good to know. You see how it fluctuates with cost, right, and building materials, and so hopefully it picks up a little bit, but we'll see. So we'll move right along. We're into 11, which is closed session, which we don't have any closed session, and then any business arising, nothing. So I have one more motion here. Moved by Councillor Renwick, seconded by Councillor Morrison. It's recommended that we do now adjourn at 10:11. All those in favor? And that carries.